Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central. And today, did I do that? I don't think I did the date on the last one. Today is Monday, May 21st, 2018. And I, with BZ Rieger and Lisa Flamino Rush, my girlfriends, my gal pal, my posse. And this time we're going to talk about a lot about knowing. How do I know when I've got a knowing? How can I recognize it? How can I tell? All these questions I've asked everybody that I come in contact with. How do you know when you just do? That was actually one of my very first questions, wasn't it, Lisa? You were present for that one, wasn't it? What do you mean you know?
Oh, that, yeah.
You have a knowing. I don't understand what you mean when you say that. I did. I asked that question because I kept hearing people saying that.
Or how do you know? How do you know?
Yeah. How do you know that you have a knowing? What does that mean?
Well, and that's a good answer for it, because if you don't have a direct experience of knowing it yet, you can't think your way to thinking about and cognizing that until you feel it. And if you have had a direct experience of knowing, I just know, which is a very clear, clean, succinct, detailed, explicit, and very pointed way to describe that you know. Because when you say that, your whole body, reverberates with that. But if you're on both sides of the conversation, you're going, huh?
Well, that's a good distinction, that there's sensations in your body.
Yeah. There are in mine.
Okay. Well, there are in mine now too. I do recognize them at now. I did not prior, but I do now. So now I really do comprehend. I cognize and comprehend what is meant when a person says they have a knowing. Mm-hmm. As I have felt into that finally for myself, and I get it. But there is some of what you were just saying there about you just know it. I think what might have...
But you got to get in the habit of listening to your knowing in order to know that you're knowing, to have the feeling of your knowing.
Well, that's true. Yes.
I mean, you got to start someplace.
No, that's true.
Maybe that's not an accurate characterization, because sometimes you can just say, I know I have to do this, or I know I'm not supposed to go out to this show tonight, or whatever it is. And then, even though it may boggle the mind, you may have had plans or whatever, and your friends think you're being a pill, or, or droopy butt, or whatever it is, I'm not going because I know I'm not supposed to go. And in there, it's so intense, usually because in that instance, usually it's a direct interference, shaking of you by your soul or higher selves, sometimes both, to really get your attention, to know this particular thing. So it'll come off as a little weird and a little scary, and I'm not going to not listen, and then oftentimes, people will forget it afterwards. But listening to your knowing, learning to listen to your knowing, is a really good way to start.
Well, I'll tell you, the first experience, because for me, while you were speaking there, I was having a remembrance, if you will, a memory that came back of
a reloop experience.
Right. But also,
was the experience coming right back so you could feel it all happening again?
Yeah, sort of, yes. And what came to me in that was, it was a time where a knowing was going on. I recognize it as a knowing. So what I would have said was my gut. I had a gut feeling about something.
Okay, can I
So,
stop you right there? Because this is really important.
okay.
See previous video and the story I ended with the wizard, evil sorcerer guy behind the thing, okay?
Yes.
Knowings come from your heart, and they're felt and they're feeling within you. So they're, you know, you could be a thinking feeling, but they're a feeling. And the feeling will show up in different places.
Mm-hmm.
By design, part of the actual tinkering, see, not yet video.
Yeah, a future video.
Right.
Coming soon.
To shift us out of the heart and into the gut, where the solar plexus and all that stuff, because then it's away from the actual emotions and feeling, which are all full of codes and vital information, and it's, you know, a very close match to your soul language, you know, the universal language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Language of light. So anyways, that is a mechanism, a gimmick, a ruse, infiltration, a targeted, heart-centered interrupt to pull you out of that, because when you feel that, then your gut sends that information to your brain, which then thinks about it and has a reaction to it. As opposed to the other way, where your heart has a knowing and a feeling and then a knowing, and the information comes in, and you then act upon it. It could be, that's interesting, I want to play with that a little, or okay, I'm going to get moving, or whatever it is. But it's you're acting upon it, which could be, you know, physical, demonstrable acting, or it could just be, you know, taking it in as a puzzle piece, or, you know, however you want to hold it. But they are distinctly different. So one of the ways that you can see this proved out all over the place is problem, reaction, solution, which is, you know, one of the hallmarks of the Illuminati. So you create the problem, designed, and they're slanted and tweaked different ways to elicit a certain reaction, because you feel it in your gut. You don't go to your heart because it's fear-based.
Right.
And then they look at that. They've already got a solution already.
Imagine that.
So just to go back to on the focus of trusting your knowing, listening to your knowing, one of the things that you can do, instead of thinking about something, because when you have a gut reaction, you think about it. Well, you know, I have this gut feeling, and usually you'll see that you're connecting to thinking. And instead say, you know, instead of I'm going to think about that, say I'm going to feel into it. You know, what are my senses picking up? What do I sense about that?
Yeah.
And in just changing the wording, it actually changes the locale that you're
Listening to.
The power of your, you know, people think of the brain as, you know, kind of this, like the power center, and it leads everything. It's not. It's actually your heart has, I forgot the actual numbers, but it's more than 10 times the electromagnetic power, the output than the brain does. So it's by far, and has, you know, by far all the things that they chart the brain for all its capacities, the heart far outweighs it. But the reason I'm saying is, if you're just changing the language and I'm going to feel into that, instead of saying I think about, what I think about that is, what I feel about that is. because it shifts. It's almost like shifting your center. Well, it probably is. It's almost like shifting your center of gravity. It's certainly shifting your awareness.
Yes.
It's shifting your keys and body awareness to a different location. That's not a more primal reptilian based. You know, you've heard about the reptilian brain, and well, it's no coincidence. and I don't know how they explained that away in school when we were supposed to be from monkeys, not reptiles. But okay, like they kind of just either kicked you out of class or shunted you over. Any video we haven't made yet. Anyways, if you switch, your languaging will help a lot.
Well, that's one I'll have to feel into, because quite frankly, up until this very moment, I would have equated knowing with the gut feeling, because I have had gut feelings that I didn't listen to and regretted. And so for me, that's why I'm saying this is all what you just shared right there.
So think about when you use intuition. You sense intuition, your intuition knows. And your gut is having you get a reaction to your gut. It was a gut reaction. I mean, if you kind of listen to what other people say in relation to that, or you could probably, I don't know, you could probably even Google, your gut reaction, whatever it is. But one is a more feeling centric, tuned in centric, all of me centric, and it's knowing based information gathering, kind of a field of all of you right at the moment. The other is more your gut feeling usually sends it right up to your head. Well, the reason I'm pointing this out is because these are also ways for that when you just notice, now that we've talked about this, you might notice when you're out doing, and you hear someone talk about intuition or you're using that, you'll see that it goes to a different place instead of right up here. The gut more transfers right from down here to up here. And that's not by accident. It's not a coincidence. It's actually orchestrated.
Wow.
It really doesn't serve us.
Wow.
But getting back to knowing, if you can listen to get in the habit, get in the routine, get in the picking up on the nuances of listening to your knowings by shifting how you would, you're going to feel into something instead of I'm going to think about it. When I say those two things, I can feel them in two different places.
Yeah, I think we're not accustomed to feeling into things, really. We're not taught to how does something feel doesn't matter. And if you are feeling unhappy, then you need to change that, or you need to, you know what I mean? Don't trust your feelings,
right?
Really is the message we get. And I think what you're telling us is we're supposed to trust our feelings.
They're
our sensations in our body.
Data bank. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of information coming in that your body picks up on. That's energetic. It's going to have way more information than the words coming out of their mouth, most likely.
Right. And one of the ways I would kind of build that thread out a little bit is your higher selves, your soul, your intuition is sending you these signals, sending you these information, this data coming in. It's packets of information of data, however you perceive it. You may perceive it in different ways, but it's communication. It's real connection. It's core connection and communication and information, which is light. That's light coming in. And you're turning on, waking up, connecting fully your light body. So it's all that information coming in. And it's by design, by orchestration, by manipulation that we don't, as you say, don't trust our feelings, because there's where all the communication comes from. Then we wouldn't disregard nudges. We wouldn't disregard feelings. We wouldn't disregard our knowings, or not even recognize them.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so in a way you could say that to be in alignment is to follow your nudge. I mean, that's being in alignment.
Absolutely.
Trusting what you get.
Yeah.
That's alignment.
And acting on it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's acting, not reacting.
Right.
It's the next step. You know, and the acting on may be to sit, or to be quiet, to be still, to get up and move. You have, I just got to get, you know, some of you ever had the thought, well, you know, you're working, I just got to get up and move for a bit. Because that's how, you know, you're processing something. And different beings will do it differently. And the other thing, one way to recognize, if you haven't had one yet, or if you haven't, it's unmistakable. It's oftentimes unshakable. It's a knowing. You know, I've had knowings. I may not understand them all. I may not know chapter and verse on them, but it's a conversation. It's a connection. It's a knowing, and I go and I do it. And sometimes the going and the doing, the being and the, you know, so I'm being connected, and I get the knowing, and then I do. My doing is to go and do whatever it is, and you know, it can be going across the country in the middle of the night with, you know, $28, 2 cats and a dog. I mean, 2 dogs and a cat, you know. So, and they can be little ones, but they're a whole range of things. And again, it's, you know, if you did know, what would the answer be? Because you do know. We know all the time. We just brushed aside. We, you know. So, how do you recognize your knowings? Either one of you, when you have them.
Well, I think you just described that. It's how, for me, how it feels. And I have to say, I did a much better job trusting myself than I have recently, because I'm trying this new skill, and now all of a sudden I feel like I can't trust myself. So I have been sitting with that the last couple of days. How do you tell the difference? And you're right, it is how you feel, definitely, in your body. And like you said, a true knowing gets stronger. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't go away. And so for me, that's kind of how I've been gauging it, because I know that. Because I've ignored things long enough to know they don't go away. They'll just keep coming around and get louder and louder and more uncomfortable.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because then, so let's take someone who hasn't got a lot of experience in A, knowing they're having a knowing, and B, trusting their knowing. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, this person gets what they might perceive as a knowing, and they don't act on it or do anything about it. So you're saying that if it is a true knowing, it will come back around. It's not going to leave.
It'll come, well, it come in different ways too, because you weren't listening the first time. So maybe I'm not going to keep yelling the same thing.
Yes.
You know, maybe I need to mix up the lane, because this one's a little slow sometimes.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
I know it will.
Okay, if we come around the 100th time, will you hear us?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to take. I don't want to let it go, Sheila. That's not the thing. But if I'm confused, I've comforted myself with that lately. That it's okay. I can figure this out. I have everything I need, and you know, I'm trying to get myself to relax and be comfortable, because actually, some of this stuff is making my whole body very uptight.
Does your heart get confused?
No, it doesn't. But I can my little ego is very confusing, because it's very convincing, and it comes up with lots of reasons and things that I need to consider.
Reason, right there. There's a good one.
Yeah. I realize what is happening, but it still happens.
Yeah.
I'm not beyond it actually taking place yet, but I am recognizing it for what it is, which is a huge, advancement for me. And I'm just sitting with it instead of panicking. And I'm catching myself, like berating myself and stopping that instantly. So that all feels like headway to me at this moment of now. But yeah, I know that anything that is coming to me it's for me. And so I'm not going to miss it. This is another thing I've been saying to myself lately. It's okay if I take a minute, because I've also been berating myself for how long this is taking to I don't know. I really desperately want to be all that I can be. And so I think I'm, a little hard on myself for not being there already. So I'm also trying to have this balance where everything feels good and that I'm still having fun. And, it's easier for me to connect with my heart when I come at it playfully. And I've kind of had a hard time being playful all the time. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, because you're desperate.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
yeah, not all the time, but I have bouts of that.
I mean, your mind is putting you in that, I desperately want to know, how to do these things. But that's, again, if I was going to point to, when you talk, different areas of your body light up. So I desperately want to know is, lighting up, and it's getting bigger and having convincing arguments and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The heart knows it, and you'll get it. So it's not in a big rush, unless it's something.
Well, so now I need to ask again. How do you know you got a knowing? Because I'm sorry, ladies, I was sitting over here basking and reveling in the glory that I finally was paying attention to my gut. So now I feel like, okay, wait.
Yeah, would you ever describe yourself as having intuition? Or you get a hit?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, if I'm saying something, or Lisa is saying something, and that's, different than the way you've held something before, or thought about it, or perceived it, or whatever, but so it might be, a little wild and wacky, because hey, Lisa and I are known to do that sometimes, right? But that it resonates with you. That it's true. So part of that is a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Smari being such a, all-time champion dancer, you wouldn't have ever gotten there otherwise. It's very subtle. There's a lot of nuance to it. It's unshakable. It's, on the one hand, you could say it's absolute steel. It's reinforced concrete with steel. It's unshakable. The foundation is bedrock. But it's a subtle, nuanced thing. And oftentimes, you can't explain the knowing. You can't put containerized, linear, you can't boxify it, so to say, right? You just know it.
Well, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I don't understand what knowing is, okay? Because when oh shit, I'm gonna cry. When I was in Knoxville,
Yeah.
I just knew, and I still know, that everything that had to do with is connected to everything. I just know that. I don't have anything else I can, but that's the one thing that I can tell both of you for no uncertain terms that I know. And I don't even know how I know that, but I know that.
Or what you know. You just know it.
Yeah, I just know that it
Well,
is.
that's a great example of a knowing. Because look at the emotion. It's absolute, it's visceral, right? And I think that's the other thing is there's a propensity from the lower mind to explain the knowing. And it's quantum. It just, on a linear way, you could say it just is. And trying to ascribe all these, words around it, it loses most, if not all of it, in translation. Because it's a feeling thing. So if someone just tunes into your feeling or even looks at you and notices, how you're presenting in that moment, they will see a noticeable difference. And that they could then tune into their knowing. Do they have a knowing that there's something changed within this other person that talks to you? Like anything else, since we really have been tinkered with to keep this from happening, to keep from acknowledging it, and so much. Think about how much is out there that almost instantaneously maligns you for these kinds of things. So it's like a version. You got my in a closet, no one's watching, and so I can, Well, that's your determination. You have to either step into it and work up to it slowly, or you can just say, well, I'm out of the closet and I'm doing what I'm doing because I know. I mean, I've lost everything because of my knowings. Am I better for it? You bet. Am I happy for it? You bet. Am I expansive for it? You bet. Am I more abundant? You bet. But that's kind of, maybe that's a description of a knowing. It's that unshakable it's almost like it's in a different language and you translate it. So now the translation is locked in there and you got it, but you can't parrot it back. Does that make sense? I can't use this language that I'm speaking to.
Yes.
It doesn't change anything else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not all knowings are that big, but you usually start small, and so listening and trusting your knowing, and recognizing them, I think, and it's recognizing. That's where the recognizing is in the recognizing. So you're to cognize something is to, I think the actual dictionary is something like to get it, to understand the I'm paraphrasing, but the breadth and depth of it. Well, that's a knowing. So you've rearranged so that you're actually, coming more from the heart space.
So if a person, let's say me,
Why not?
Go on and say me.
Okay.
Thinks they have a knowing of something.
Well, why are you questioning it?
Yeah, you said think.
Do you feel you have a knowing, or you think you've got a knowing? Because you're thinking you've got a knowing is smarmy, getting all up in there and messing with your knowing.
Well, because there's been times where I think I just said, I think I know something. I'm having a knowing about something. I could even feel I'm having a knowing about something. Is it a matter of I don't trust that I'm having that knowing? See, because Lisa's talked about if she has a knowing and she ignores it, then it keeps coming back, right? And so I'm equating some of what I have thought, felt was a knowing that I've done nothing about. And it hasn't come back.
Okay. All right.
So,
but I would be willing to absolutely guarantee that it's come back in a different way, because our souls have really got it all going on, and our higher selves, man, and they know they know where they got which ball field they got to come in on, or if they need to go out in the North 40 to send them a flag that might get you to notice. For me, they do it. They're not going to come exactly the same way. Some people, that will work, and your beingness knows you inside and out. Absolutely. So not necessarily play with it now, but I would play with later. Just, think of my guess is you could probably jot down some kind of placeholder for the one or two times you thought you had a knowing, and since you just thought it and you weren't sure, how do I know I have a knowing, right? You ignored it, or you didn't pay attention to it, or however you're holding it, right?
right.
But my feeling is that you could then, if you felt into it, you could notice there was something else where it came at a different angle. It came in at a, let's say it used a different metaphor to catch your attention or to become visible. And it fit.
Yeah, I'll have to play with that some, because nothing's coming to that right now. So, yeah.
And a lot of times, not all times, especially if you're new to feeling into things, if you're new to connecting and tuning into, our bodies are amazing. They just are amazing biological tools.
I'm kind of sure that part of my part of what's going on here for me is that my body has been so terribly tortured and abused by me for so long that I'm not as connected, perhaps, or used to I don't think that it's not that it doesn't feel things, because I know that it does, but it's still in a state. I've not reached homeostasis. I know that. And so it's for me specifically, there's a lot going on with my body in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so since I've really just in the last, really year and a half since I've been with Lisa, been really feeling into things using my body. So I am new to some of that.
So would you be willing to entertain having field trips with your body where you play with different things? It could be going someplace, it could be being one place, but so a field trip for that. What do you think of So, and what do you think of when, unless it's some really bad, scary thing because you're traumatized as a kid, what do you think of when you think of a field trip? It's, it's fun. It's something new and adventurous, and, it's an uncharted, unknown place. And anyways, that might be a way. It came up very strongly to ask you that. So.
A field trip with my body. Okay.
I see the magic school bus.
Oh, wait a minute. So we're talking about a field trip internally. I'm
not limiting it to anything. It's,
Ooh, yay.
Hand
is up. I'm in shotgun. Remember shotgun girl?
One thing that comes to mind, have you ever walked in the rain, in a warm rain?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more magical than that. There's something about the sense and sensoriness of it on your skin, on your face, on your hand, as you watch how the drops dance, the fragrance that comes in. That's a field trip. So it doesn't have to be cost you $1 million and take you 20 hours and okay, I can't work today because I got to have a field trip with my body. A minute. If you really need to time yourself. That's what I'm saying. That's connecting with and tuning in, because there may be memories or things you recall. And I'm not just speaking about this body here, right here. You're multidimensional. So there may be other aspects of you that you need to hold, which will hold this, because maybe it's part of a connecting, and when one fits into place, this comes into place. I don't know, that's just kind of what's coming to me right this minute. But that's an example of a field trip.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
So, and I think that's because you guys mentioned it was raining.
Yeah, well, it has been raining here quite a bit.
Yes, it has.
Or at night you can take a field trip and go, and you can bring your mind along if you want, but your heart and your body and all of you go and listen to the stars breathe. That's a cool field trip.
Yes.
So what it is it's and you, all sorts of knowings will come out of that, because it's like being in the negative space if you're thinking about drawing or something like that. So right now I could see the look of the spaces. The computer is here, but there's space all around it. So, what does that feel like? And what could I imagine is there? What do I can actually see different things. I can see linear wise, but I can see other things there. So, I guess maybe one thing that's one thing that strikes me that's coming up very heavy for everybody all over right this moment, because the energies are flowing in and we're moving so fast. We are transforming, reforming, replicating, rearranging, you can the whole laundry list of ways to describe it so quickly now.
Mm-hmm.
And the linear aspect was so ingrained because we took it so far out on that trajectory into duality and polarity and such extreme complete anathema to the truth of who we are, that as we're moving so fast, sometimes we scare ourselves and we try to grab a hold of something, because the not knowing and the unknown, and it makes the ego go friggin' nuts. Right? And loud, really nuts. And when we do that, there's shearing force from stopping that momentum, but also it just makes, it's kind of like a monster under the bed. It just seems to magnify, even if it's only for a split second, whatever it is. And if we can let go of that stuff and just something really as, well, on the one hand, you could say as simple, but as magical as a field trip with yourself in the rain. Okay, if you're being a real wuss about it, you could stand with your head under the overhang and put your hand, but I mean, because you're really feeling.
Yeah, I know. Come on, get wet.
You can play with time, which doesn't exist anyways, but you can play with your perception of time, where you can get the drops to speed up or slow down. It's almost like you were a videographer, and how you're moving through that scene, filming it, directing it, all of that. And you can shift and change by the speed at which you're breathing, the length of time that you're holding your focus on something, the more soft that the focus is. All of that changes everything. And your body is the recorder, would be a good way of, so in essence, you're it's different than video, but it's your video tool, right? The gathering information tool that you can then replay. And it also okay, so I'll tie it in. So if you've gone to a movie, you've seen something, and it evokes an emotion in you, either a memory or a response or a joy or an expansion, right? Okay, because it's the energy frequency of that is tuned in. Well, this can do the same thing, and it can unlock stuff in you that's been trapped. It can reawaken stuff in you that had been dormant. It can, as I would say, whole parts of you, because remember, this is the imploding. All of you, all of your yous are imploding in on you, so it can be a way to be a catalyzing moment to pull that in. So anyways, there's all sorts of things, and there's all sorts of ways to do it, but having a field trip really is a fun way to do it, and easy in all sorts of ways, walking from the car to work, I mean, so it's really hard to come up with excuses why you can't do them, because you can knock down all the excuses really simply.
Yes.
But what you get out of it is short, aside from just plain gobs of fun and really interesting, cool experiences and noticings and everything else, is that it seems to make everything flow and integrate much more effortlessly. And
nice.
You said, Sheila, well, Lisa, you both talked about about integrating, lining up, about being in sync with it. It helps to kind of bring us back in sync. We're so far out of sync, if you watch a video and the sound is they're off, and so someone's mouth is moving, and they catch up with themselves, or they whatever, depending on how far out of sync they are. But we're really out of sync. We're out of sync with we're kind of in slow motion, and we're we have a knowing, even if we don't know that we have a knowing, that we're trying to get ourselves back in sync, back in that frequency sync with ourselves, with all of ourselves.
So the getting in touch with and having those body field trip moments will go a long way, I guess, then, right, to helping me, or anyone else for that matter, in recognizing a knowing.
Yeah, because it tunes you back into your senses. It opens, perhaps for the first time, a real connection with you and all of you, where there isn't this, where you're not so recognizably out of sync, where you're not so disjointed, where you're think, and you can't feel a bloody thing.
Yeah.
It's numb. You just don't feel. That's one of the reasons people are going nuts, because they've got to feel all the things they haven't feel. They have not been truly acknowledging and feeling all this time. I mean, there's a lot of pain and anguish and grief because of, on, well, pretty much every level, we understand, from a narrow perspective, exactly what we've gone through. And so we're letting all of that go.
Yay.
Anytime that you can connect to your feelings, anytime that you can, have you ever been something where it feels like there might be something touching you? Like you might, if you're kind of sneaky about it, you say, well, must be a bug on me because my skin is, right, No, that's part of you talking to you. That's part of you kind of, tapping you just to see.
I've actually had that experience. So, yeah.
So it's different for everybody, but all those are just ways to, it's ways that I've come up with to reconnect, to then, some may describe it as the most whacked out chicken or dog you could imagine, or wow, she's really cool and she does fun things. Everybody holds it differently. But because I came from a very ABC Sports, so corporate America, and very linear, and always had a huge battle between very right brain and very left brain. And I had this knowing, damned if I could explain what the knowing was or who the hell told me what the knowing was, but I knew that there was this knowing. And I couldn't explain what the knowing was either, but I knew it. And, I was already miserable in the world, always being making wrong on every level. And I had this knowing. And so, well, I might as well be miserable trying to figure out the knowing, which I knew was a knowing, and it was an unshakable knowing, and it wasn't going away, even though I couldn't understand it or explain it, right? Because that was at least in the direction of something I had a knowing of, certain of. And by the way, I got divorced because I was told I was too certain and too positive. So
you were told what?
Too certain and too positive.
Oh,
too positive?
Yeah.
Oh, for shit's sake.
Yeah, because that's horrible.
And too certain. But what I'm saying is that, but the knowing was what,
Yes.
So,
well, I feel you. I hear you're certain and you're positive, and I raise you a getting well. But that's okay, because I had a knowing that I wanted to be well.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now we've got how do you know when you're having a knowing and recognizing when you're having a knowing. Now let's go on to following the knowing.
Stop kibitzing.
Well, see, I think part of my issue
She makes it sound so easy.
Just stop it.
Yeah.
And that'll be $5.
That's right.
What's the payoff in kibitzing?
Well,
None, really.
There is no payoff in kibitzing. So it really comes down to trusting the knowing. If you're going, otherwise because.
Well, you could be very pragmatic about it from this, something from decades ago popped into my head. You can be very pragmatic and knowing, this sucks. I don't know what this is. What have I got to lose? So let me go this way. Oh, well, this is weird. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. It doesn't suck like that. So, okay, well, I mean, that's just really linear, really pragmatic, and if that's what, floats your boat at this particular moment, go with it.
I'm sorry. I just had this thought in my head was, yes, I'll just keep moving towards that which does suck. Wait a minute. That's another t-shirt. Keep moving towards that which doth not suck.
With the quickness. No dawdling.
I mean, you can, if you want, you can ascribe all these lofty, whatever things. But if you're not there and that doesn't work, and it's, you can just be really pragmatic and.
You think I'm joking? I'm writing that down.
Yeah. She'll be wearing it on her shirt.
Well, that's
for everybody. I mean, it's really about, they're all choices. So choices to trust your knowing or not. Are you magalicious right where you are and you got it all going on and you're not waiting for anything and everything is zippy doo dah yay? Then you're probably all set. If not, like the rest of us, then
well, because I mean, part of here's part of the reason I ask. All right. I have a knowing that I created. I thought it was a vision, but now I really do truly, after our conversation in regards to what that vision really was, I feel very strongly that was a creation. So, I have a knowing.
Yeah, that it was a creation.
That it was a creation, and that I'm moving towards it.
And are you not trusting the knowing because where the hell is it? It's not here yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's good.
No, the reason I bought the suitcase. The reason I bought the suitcase is because I've been feeling
you're going to pack it up.
Yes, but
get in the car.
And so then, okay, so I have this knowing. I know it's out there, right? Okay. I know I'm moving towards it.
Okay.
There's a part of me that this is a part, I guess it's not a knowing because I don't know. But there's a part of me that's like, okay, am I supposed to get in the car and go wandering the world now?
Are you supposed to pack all of your stuff that you don't want to take with you in your suitcase and leave it?
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Are you supposed to pack all of your stuff that doesn't go with you in your suitcase and leave it?
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just putting on the table to play with. There's all sorts of ways to do it. Again, we think because we think and we think linear and we think, step. We hold a supposition that this means that instead of just noticing, observing. The knowing, the nudge to get the suitcase, the pushing away, pushing aside, yeah, however many days that was. That's all a process. I mean, that's a lot of stuff is happening and unfolding and shifting and changing and expanding right in that stuff. That's the other thing. Someone said, well, criminy, she got the knowing, she didn't listen to it, she didn't trust it, she said blah, blah, blah for a couple of days and finally ran out and got the thing. What? Well, what I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff there. if we flow with it.
Mhm.
It's not all, it's mostly not at all direct.
Okay.
It's, it's a lot of oblique things, a lot of,
Yeah, I think that's what I have my issue with mostly.
Yeah.
Because I'm very direct. I'm a very direct person. And so, yeah, I guess that's what my issue is. I have heard the word subtle more times since I've met Lisa and now you than one of the things I have never been accused of being is subtle. So,
well, I've had plenty of nudges that would really be better, more apt to be described as shoves.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't mind being shoved.
I think that,
Oh, well, there you go again.
and I know that as you prove yourself, as you build up that rapport and that trust, and you're the one who's doing the building, because
Right.
the rest of you's got it all going on. You'll get that. You need, Sheila, you need to go do this now.
Okay.
No,
So
but now.
So that'll,
The
okay.
phone's
So
going to
that's
ring now, and this is going to be a signal with some other piece you need. Do it now.
Oh, okay.
Because by what I use is the whole, the proving, you say, I'm in, I got my hand up. Okay, go do this. 3 days later, and I'm still thinking about maybe I'll catch the sale for the suitcase.
Well, because
I'm ready.
now
Let me know. Okay.
in my defense, I don't know that there is one, but I'm gonna give it anyway. As I don't have a crap ton of money, I put that goddamn suitcase on credit, and I'm paying for it. So that's why I was kind of holding back. But yes, I did finally go ahead and do it because I did recognize it as a nudge.
Right. But that's the other thing, is that's part of the trusting, is things line up all over the place. If I, when I have a knowing, I just go with the knowing and don't come up with all the stupid ass smarmy things and go with it, because, they seem to materialize. And when I don't have a knowing and I'm wanting to think it into being a knowing, because I want to do something, and it's really smarmy masquerading as something else, they don't line up. And I kind of push at it. And I can maybe massage it into, doing what I want to do. And just like before, the money or resources or whatever it is will come, and I'm looking around going, kind of empty out here, So that's part of it as well. And that's part of divine timing and all that kind of stuff. The only way to trust and to know is to start playing with it and doing it.
Yeah, that's it.
And like I said, unless you feel that things are so magalicious and no need to go in any other direction, it's going to be better than everything else, because it's expansion and it's going to bring in new opportunities. And even something that's maybe perceived as, falling away, or perceived as being lost, or perceived as, pain or something else. When you move through that step, and I know anybody listening can say that they've known at least one person who said it was the best thing that ever happened. Whatever it was.
Well, I totally concur. As I'm quickly coming up on a year here. Since, my husband left, and I can honestly say it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and it isn't just divorce; it's all sorts of things.
No, yeah, I get that, but that was a pretty big one.
Yeah, and I mean, where it was, there could be a thing that was pain or scary or this or that or the other thing that are all of negatives, painful, yucky, icky things. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, you bet. But it still was the best thing. Yeah.
So there's that.
So if you choose to allow yourself to trust your knowing, listen to your knowing, recognize how it feels in your body knowing, or be another way to do it is open mind. If someone says, well, I have a knowing, then just kind of observe and notice and play and ask some questions, of them in a non-judgmental, don't, yeah, right, kind of a way, but just be with them kind of way. There's a lot that you can gain from that. And it changes everything. It changes everything. It opens so many doors and provides so many fantabulous things and riches beyond your wildest dreams on all levels and layers.
Well, there really has been, in my estimation, or, well, not estimation, but anyway, my feeling on there really has been a real good, let's see, I have done a really good job of not being in my body, B, not caring for it and abusing it. So there's that misconnection, or it's not a complete disconnection, but it's not quite where I feel it could be and will be, as I am moving toward that every day. And I'm keeping it right here for myself. However, I have a feeling, not a knowing, but a feeling that there is a lot of folks out there who have this same sorts of thing, that because there's also a lot of, or there was anyway, before I started hanging out with you guys, this idea or feeling that, ascension was, everybody's trying to get out of their body. We're trying to ascend. This is a horrible place. We don't want to be here. Let's get out of here. That kind of thing. And now to find that, oh, wait a minute. We're not ascending over. We're ascending right in here. So, I mean, that's a whole new thing too. So that makes the body piece that much more important.
Yeah.
Who knew? And so, yeah, it's a lot. It really is it's a lot of different. It's a lot different than I thought originally when I first started on this path that I'm finding myself on at this point.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. In fact, everybody's coming right to you. And you got to make room in the bucket because you got a lot of flotsam and jetsam in there. We got to jettison. So everybody come in.
Oh boy!
I would love to make an ironic joke here about my having been 490 pounds. Maybe I could have fit everybody in then, if we could have done it then. Sorry.
I don't think there was as much room in there as you thought.
No, there was.
Something tells me
there wasn't anything.
It's gonna work.
I couldn't even be in there.
See?
Yeah. So there's that. Well, thank you. I do either one of you have anything else to add to this? I really am going. This is one that I am going to go back and really rewatch myself, because I mean, neither one of you have said anything new, with the exception of the gut piece, because I'll be honest with you, that threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you guys would like to add or cover?
No, not me. BZ is very thorough.
Well, and the hummies have gone quiet, so I think we've
Right? It is complete.
Okay, well, we'll have all the usual stuff in all the usual places, and I'd like to ask for everyone that's listening to this to comment about your own experiences with this. If you feel led, you don't have to, of course, but I personally would like to hear about your experiences. If you don't feel comfortable doing it in the comments section, please reach out to my email.
And how many people have framed and have felt a nudge, had a comment framed, all those kinds of things, and don't follow through on it? So this isn't about anybody else but each individual being. And you know, and there are so many places that we're brushing aside, putting off later, whatever the excuses are, and you know, all our opportunities to love ourselves, to step up to the plate, you know, stand up, stand in, and move it along quicker and make it fantastical.
Yeah, that loving of yourself is quite frankly for me the most important piece, and I think that I'm going to close this one out myself by saying that I bought into an erroneous idea that to love yourself is conceited and wrong, and that's not at all true. As a matter of fact, it's damn important. And it's probably the most important thing you can do for yourself. And for all the other beings that are here collectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely. It changes everything.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It certainly does.
On every level and in every being. In the all. Not just on this blue planet.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.